Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And today we're going to be talking about Batman Earth 1 and Superman New 52.
Yeah, both these books were pretty good. Which one do you want to talk about first?
I don't know, I was watching Batman the Animated Series last night, and
One of my favorite shows of all time.
Season 4, or whatever they call it, Volume 4, Disc 4. They actually had two of the best episodes in a row, and I haven't seen them. Well, I saw one not too long ago, but actually, well, probably haven't seen them in about 4 years, if not longer. They had the episode of, what was it called? Girls' Night Out, and I didn't realize they had Lori Petty doing the voice of Livewire.
That's the one where Batgirl and Supergirl work together, right?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one since I
and
was
then
like in the
it's like the bad
grade,
guys are Lori Petty, or
Lori Petty.
Livewire, Livewire, Poison Ivy.
The Tank Girl money ran out, so she turned to crime.
Yeah, but Point Break only lasts for so long.
Yeah.
But no, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. And that was actually a pretty cool episode. I forgot about that one. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
I remember that one. I have not seen it in a long time. I just remember the bare bones concept of it.
But I just remember, like, Supergirl literally just gets her ass handed to her, like, in every scene almost. The strongest character in that thing, and she's getting her ass whooped. Doesn't matter by who. It could be by, well, no, Harley kind of gets her ass whooped too, but. And then Batman just keeps going, like, I'll be back in 48 hours. Don't fuck up. I know you're gonna fuck up, but don't fuck up.
Come on, you're Jim Gordon's
and
daughter.
And then Bullock just always has these comments just like, women, like they could solve crime. It's got a lot of sexist things kind of going on in it. Like, I almost feel like nowadays they wouldn't make it like so like that. And the girls are just...
Well, they have a new show. I haven't seen it, but they have a little, like, block of DC cartoons.
Yeah, and isn't one of them all girls?
Yeah, it's like DC Nation. One of them's called, like, Super Best Friends Forever or something like that, and it's about Supergirl, Batgirl, and...
See, that still comes out very sexist, too. It sounds like it's made for, like, 5-year-old girls.
I saw, like, 2 episodes. They're, like, these minute-long shorts. It's, like, Supergirl, Batgirl, and Wonder Girl stopping crime, and they treat it very, like, Powerpuff Girls-y, sort of.
Well, that could be cool, I guess. Haven't seen that.
Well, Batgirl, ironically, from the 2 episodes I saw, was the one that was always, like, kind of like the comic relief.
Really? That seems strange.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's true, because Supergirl would probably be the ditzy one.
Yeah.
You know, Wonder Girl would probably be like
she's
the
angry, yeah. she comes from Amazon Island, so
that's how they probably treat it. Yeah. But then the other episode, actually, this one actually came technically beforehand, I guess, but was the one where like the little kids are all talking about Batman.
Oh, that one. So they have the part where they have the Dark Knight Returns segment of it. They have the Adam West style.
I love the way that one's actually animated because the animation's all like huge and blocky and. Because they're trying to make it like that, but just the way it comes across, I was like, yeah, the Batman hero.
And they have the part where it's like the Adam West Batman that it's in that style.
Yeah, that one where it's like, it's like the old 1950s style Batman.
And then there's the part where this actually, I noticed this when I was a kid, and I remember this now to this day, because I have the anime Batman Gotham Knight, the things will take place between Batman Begins and Dark Knight, and they have 4 or 3 bonus episodes on there.
And that's one of them.
That's one of them, yeah. And I was watching that like not too long ago, and there's a part where there's a gay kid. I'm not saying this in like a derogatory term. They literally
he's a literally gay kid. He's got like the little bow around him, and it's pink, and it's
fluffy.
And his hair, and he's flashing his hair up and down, and he uses words like fabulous and Batman.
Yeah, he's like, the Batman came by the other day and stopped crime. It was fabulous, and he flipped his hair back. It's like, oh my god.
And he's like hanging off a mannequin, I think, too, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
It's just so it's like at a fashion store.
This 9-year-old kid.
9 o'clock at night. God knows what he's doing out
in
there.
Gotham City, running a fashion store by himself.
Probably selling himself off as a gay prostitute. But whatever.
Probably the thing I really wanted to see left out of the script.
I really wanted to see what his story of Batman was, though, because you had the other kids. They all tell theirs like, Batman, he's a monster, and Batman, in my version, he's 1950s Batman. In my version, he's old and crusty and has a woman Robin. But I want to see this guy's Batman. He's probably like, in my version,
he has fairy boots.
Yeah, he's got fairy boots. In my version, Batman and Robin are 2 homosexuals that run a fashion store, and Batman's not wearing pants. He's just wearing a giant inflatable dildo with a bat wing on the end.
When he talks to Jim Gordon, hey Jim. Jim's
just like, oh jeez. God, please don't let him come by.
Was it the Joker again? Tell me, Jim. Batman, just please call me Jim or Detective Gordon, please, one or the other.
Jim.
High five, Robin. Yeah.
And you can just see Bullock. Bullock would actually
Let's go slap some crime.
Bullock would be pretty straight about it. Like, a couple of fags coming in here, Jim.
Bullock's nature.
But that kid, I'm actually almost slightly afraid to see what the version is. Like, what would Batman be wearing? It'd be like, you know,
Now that
almost
you
like
mentioned it,
a
I'm
pink and
curious.
purple outfit.
Like where there's gray on the suit, it's white, and where there's black or blue on the suit, it's pink, something like that. Has like Robin boots, sort of the Robin like curvy boots.
You know, you'd even get like some of the villains would almost be even more afraid of Batman. They're like, they don't know what he's gonna do. Actually, he's not just this time. He's not just gonna beat the shit out
He's
of
not
him.
just gonna take him to Arkham. He's gonna take him to the Batcave, the section they don't want to go.
And throw him a fantastic party. But beyond the point,
Like homophobia aside and all that.
I just think it's funny that there's a gay character or a
In
gay kid character in a
children's
90s cartoon.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
think,
that's also the age when you just fit a lot of shit in there. Like, they knew the parents were going to be watching. Like, look at Ren and Stimpy. They knew that wasn't a kid's show, and they threw it on there anyway.
yeah.
But anyway, and it's not nearly as good as Batman. But you know.
Let's talk about Batman Earth 1 because that's the one I read first. So,
Alrighty, you go first.
I actually really like this one a lot. I had the little teaser comic they handed to me like about a month ago or whatever, and that had about the first like 6 or 7 pages in it or something like that. And it was pretty badass as it started out. It kind of, you know, it's the retelling of Batman, and I like how like Alfred
In a
is
parallel universe, we should
Yeah.
say.
in a parallel universe, and Alfred's like got this goatee going, and that's how he enters the door. He's coming in as the butler, and he's a war buddy almost
To
of
Thomas
Thomas.
Wayne.
Yeah. And he just comes across as instead of being like almost like proper, perfect English, now he's more like rugged, like almost like he came off the cast of Snatch English.
He does seem kind of like a Guy Ritchie character. Now you
Uh-huh.
mention it.
I think that's just totally badass.
And there's also like another thing they switched up was Thomas. Like they play around with the whole origin a bit. Some of it seems pretty familiar, but some of it seems very new. Like Thomas Wayne is actually running for mayor, even though they get across he has medical history and even war history. He's running for mayor. His wife Martha Wayne is actually her maiden name's Arkham, so they really get across the whole Arkham
It's
Asylum
like
thing.
it's the Arkham Wayne City, pretty much.
Yeah.
And actually, that's how it leads. It's like they run for mayor, and then Alfred stops by, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna go to a movie. That's what we do every week, you know, just to keep it a family thing." And Alfred's just looking like, "You're not a normal family. Look at this fucking money. Look at the maids. Look at me. It's not a normal family." He's like, "Well, we gotta do it though. It's for Bruce." So then they go to the movies,
And then like, but the thing about that we should add in is Thomas was receiving death threats. And
Oh,
from
yeah, they
people
mentioned
within
that.
his campaign.
And then-
and the one person he trusted was Alfred.
and then Alfred kept saying like, "Well, I'll come with you. I'll come with you." He's like, "No, no, that keeps it. That doesn't make it seem like a normal family." So then they go to the movies, and then the lights go out, and that you actually learn later on that it was supposed to happen one way, and then it happened another way. It was set up by the Penguin actually as the mayor, and he was going to kill him right there in the movie theater when the lights went out. But Bruce ran outside the door really quickly because boy, he wanted to see that movie so bad.
We'll go see it down the street.
He's just gonna run to the next movie theater. Like I don't know about you, but have you ever been in a place where movie theaters are literally like a block away from each other? Don't you gotta like take
It's
at least
Gotham
a car or a
City.
cab? Like, is
Great.
there a movie theater on every street?
Well, I've never been to Gotham City, so who knows? I don't know their geography that well. But at the same time, though, in another note, this is actually the first time we don't see too much of Bruce as a child, but we never really saw that much of child Bruce Wayne. Whenever we did, it was after his family's death. If there's a flashback, they just show him being depressed and down. This is one of the first times they actually show it. And really, before his parents died, they got across that he was kind of like an oblivious little bastard, really.
Yeah, that's.
So there's a part where he bumps into like the guy who shoots down his parents. He says like,
He's like,
"Watch
"Ah."
it, kid." He says, "Hey, my parents are the richest people in Gotham. What are you gonna do about it?" He says, "Oh,
I
so
got a
you-
fucking gun here. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what I'm gonna do about it.
Then they follow. They, of course, we all know the story. They get shot in the alleyway because they follow Bruce out there.
And I get shot. I fucking knew it.
That's a teaser for a later drunk Batman episode we're gonna do. But anyway, going back to Earth 1 though. So then from there, it's the standard Batman story. Batman becoming Batman, working his way up, and we actually see him fall a lot more. And it's not really so much of a like I want to do this because it's right. It's more he's so pissed off, he's so angry, he wants to just get revenge. That's what this book's primarily about. It ends on the, not saying he's a dick, but it ends on a note saying, I want to become Batman to help people to do good. But for the longest time in this book, it's solely for his own revenge.
Well, I think the other cool thing in this one actually is Alfred's the one who's training Batman.
Yeah, that was
Batman doesn't
awesome.
leave Alfred and go, see ya, and go away for 10 years, and God knows what happens in those 10 years, in Alfred's mind. Like, no, he actually is being trained by Alfred, because Alfred, what?
A seasoned war vet.
He's a seasoned war vet of England.
He
I
was
can't
in
remember
the
what
he was in
division.
Her Majesty's Navy, I believe it was.
Yeah, something like that. Like, I guess the Navy SEALs version of England.
Somebody who two versions of these characters I thought I'd never see this way, but were very interesting. Detective Harvey Bullock and Commissioner Jim Gordon.
Yeah, the way that they do those guys is really cool. I mean, Jim Gordon, they start him out as a guy who like wanted to do good at first, but now he's at this old crusty, bitter old fuck stage where he's kind of like, whatever, just go with it.
He doesn't really care.
I know.
He doesn't help out a lot. He doesn't stop a lot of the crime. He's just going with it. He just doesn't care by this point.
Because his wife gets killed, and that kind of leads him to a point where like, fuck it, no, it's not worth it anymore. I got Barbara. I want her to stay alive.
Yeah, because for a while we just think, is he just a bitter old fuck who gave up? And then you find out that they had it arranged for his wife to be murdered because something I've never seen before. Harvey Bullock, though he was always a good guy, I mean, at some point in the comics he was a corrupt cop. But in this, he comes from L.A. He was on a reality cop TV show, and he's like, even though he has this will be great press, this is going to look good in the papers.
He's a really good guy.
He's a good guy. He wants to do good. He wants to get acknowledged for it, but he genuinely wants to do good, and he's not ready for Gotham City. He has no clue what's in store for him for Gotham City. So when he gets partnered up with Jim Gordon's he's like, hey, Jimbo, want to do good? I don't give a fuck, you know. So
and he's like, come on, we're gonna fight crime today. Look at that guy's beating a hooker. Let's go get him.
I don't feel like.
No, you stay in the car now. No, let's go get him. I'll stop that man.
Exactly. So as things go on, and then some of it, I'll be honest. This is the one thing I'm gonna down the book for a little bit. There's some things it feels like they could have trimmed on and just cut to more of the point because it felt kind of like Batman Begins.
No, yeah,
because they were going very much for the reality version.
Well, it definitely felt like the book was written like in the style of a Christopher Nolan Batman sort of. That's how it actually really felt like
it's within the realm of reality. Everything in this seems very possible.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have as much of the kind of flashier characters. It feels real grim and dark.
And they don't even call Penguin. They call him
Oswald.
They call him Oswald Cobblepot. And there's one they imply the line Penguin. He says he's wearing his best penguin suit tonight. You know, so wink, wink. As if that almost seems like as if it was for a movie, really.
Yeah, we're like because the audience obviously doesn't know like his real name, right?
Like, oh, that's the Penguin.
But for everybody else reading, it's like, well, we got that the second they said you didn't have to say his name. I knew who it was.
And then it goes on, and there's actually a new villain they bring into this. For a second, I thought maybe this would have been interesting if it was, but no, they didn't.
Did you look that one up?
I looked this guy up.
Okay, good.
There's a character.
I just thought about looking it up.
There's a character called the Birthday Boy. I couldn't find anything on him, but there's a character called the Birthday Boy who's a serial killer, which he's infatuated with murdering people that like were his first murder victim, which was, I guess, a 15-year-old girl.
Her name was Amanda or something?
Something like that. And which I probably should have looked up that name, too, because maybe there's relevance to that somewhere.
Because he keeps calling, like, everybody Amanda. And at one point, he captures Barbara Gordon.
At one point, he captures Barbara Gordon. What he is he's a guy, he's like a ridiculously buff, like, he looks like kind of like he's wearing, like, a child's outfit. Like, jeans and, like, a striped shirt. He looks like a machine, kind of.
Yeah.
Like Machine 8mm.
That's what I was thinking of.
But he has like this kind of a gimp mask on and wearing a birthday hat on top of that. And he just, brutally murders girls that resemble this girl he murdered like a long time ago. And he's kind of a dirt man a cleanup man for Oswald Cobblepot. Now, there's a part where I was thinking for a second that this guy may have been like an older character, like a throwaway character from like the mid-50s or something. They never touched again.
You're like,
and then they just like really darkened him, But no, it's actually, I guess he's a character they made just for this book, as far as I can tell. Yeah,
I'm always down for new characters. I know people always like to down on new characters.
I like to see this character brought into the actual timeline because this is a separate universe story. But no, there's the book's overall pretty good. My complaint is it seems like it's trying a little too hard to be within like Christopher Nolan. I mean, it's good. I still really like it. I actually like this one more than Superman Earth 1, which was I'm forgetting the guy that wrote it, but it's the same guy that wrote I'm forgetting his name, but it's the same guy that wrote Midnight Nation and the guy that told the story of how Aunt May found out Peter Parker was Spider-Man. But he also wrote Ninja Assassin, so that's kind of sad. But aside from that,
Well, you gotta do some.
you got a few, get a few speed bumps everywhere.
Well, this one was written by Jeff Johns. Gary Frank did the penciling. The inks are by Jonathan Sybil. Color by Brad Anderson. Letter by Rob Lay. See, that's the thing I always have a problem with comic books is they always just put the writer and the guy who drew the pictures on the cover, but
Nobody
if
else.
anybody's ever like made any drawings whatsoever, you know that the other jobs take almost more work than those two combined.
Being a comic book artist, yeah, I do notice that.
Or even animation, doesn't matter what it is. It's
Yeah.
just, and those names are I just don't like how they never put those guys on the cover.
I was actually glad that Jeff Jones wrote this book Jeff Johns, because for a while he's one of those. I like him. He's a good writer. He wrote Flashpoint. I think he's best known for his runs on like Green Lantern and Flash and Superman. My problem with Flash Jones is sometimes
Did you say Flash Jones?
Jeff Johns. He wrote Flash.
It's like
Jeff Johns.
It's not even his real name. We'll just give him a new name, kind of combined by what he does.
Yeah. We write stuff so fast. Flash Jones, but no. He often does like very hard sci-fi science fiction stories, and the guy for some reason has a mad fucking boner for the Legion of Superheroes, which I'm at the point where I get kind of tired. I mean, I don't hate them. I'm not going to hate on people for liking Legion of Superheroes, but they're
time traveling.
They're for those of you who don't know, they're a group of time traveling superheroes. They're from the 31st century, and I don't really give a shit about the DC universe in the 31st century because is Batman there? Is Green Arrow there? Is Flash there? I guess Flash did go there. He could go there, and he was there at one point in time. So I guess so. But when it gets right down to it, like all of the characters, is everything we really resemble the 31st century there that we know the DC universe by? Not really. So I mean, I'm sure it's a decent story if you give it a series if you give it a chance. But overall, he likes to put them in a lot of his stories. So I'm really glad they didn't appear in Earth 1. He wrote an episode for Smallville. One of the only episodes he wrote for Smallville, maybe possibly the only episode he did write, the fucking Legion came in. So it's like, oh, god damn it.
No, maybe those are his favorite characters.
Those are his favorite
maybe
characters.
You gotta respect that.
I guess I could respect it, but it's just I get tired because he put him in his Teen Titans run, he put him somewhere in his Flash run. It's just one of those. Things.
All those characters, I was just really confused when they start coming in because then they start bringing up shit that I clearly don't know of, and
they got Brainiac 5, they got Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, that's for the guy.
Bouncing Boy, for those who give a shit.
I always feel like that's for the person who's read everything DC. Here's something else.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, I haven't got to the point where I've read everything DC yet.
There's some series I like to check out before that one. So
one thing I thought was kind of cool in the ending is the way Barbara Gordon actually becomes or she draws her design for Batgirl and creates it, and
after Batman saves her.
Batman saves her, and that's kind of she just goes like, well, fuck, that's what I want to do now. Shit,
she's a librarian.
I don't want to be a librarian anymore. I'm gonna fight crime. I figured it out.
There's a part because like Harvey Bullock. We gotta jump back to Harvey Bullock.
And this part's actually amazing. There's a great scene. I'm gonna describe this scene really quickly.
Well, there's what leads up to it though.
I guess you could lead up to it. You lead. I'll describe the scene when you get there.
All right. So there's this part. Barbara Gordon gets captured by the birthday boy. It sounds so ridiculous when you say that, but gets captured by the birthday boy, and Harvey and Jim Gordon go after him, and within there, Bruce gets tangled in the mess too, and there's a scene where Harvey falls through like a messed up staircase and lands down in this pit of dead bodies of little girls. They don't really show too much of it. They more imply it.
Yeah, they don't really show anything.
But it's pretty. A foot, and you see like part of a dead, mangled arm, and it's like, oh, that's pretty fucking raw. And he starts freaking out because the whole time in this book, he's like, "Come on, Jim, old buddy, we gotta save the day."
Like, it's like almost like this 1950s like hero on a TV show.
And then right here, I'll let you go because you have it actually open.
Then right there, then he just starts to he sees the reality of what Gotham really is. And it actually mentions earlier that he doesn't drink at all. It's like, no, no, buddy, I don't drink, you know. And then it just ends on this one full panel or one page filled, and it's just him looking top to bottom at like an alcohol rack, and there's just like 1,000 different ones to choose from. And he says, whatever's the strongest. And then he starts to really become, you know, the Harvey Bullock
We all know.
we know and love, where he starts to become kind of chubbier,
Angrier,
kind of scruffier,
bitter, yeah.
angrier, bitter.
Even look, well, within that like 20-minute walk from the convenience store from the murder scene, he actually grew a stubble.
Yeah, it didn't take that long. He also even got a little bit fatter too in that
Yeah.
period too.
Looking at that picture, yeah.
And then there's also one other badass part where Batman finally figures out who the main person behind all this is.
The
and it's
Penguin.
Penguin. So he goes in there to like kick ass, and then the Penguin ends up like stabbing him with the umbrella, of course, and almost gets to like killing him. And then Alfred busts in and blows him away with a shotgun, which is fucking badass.
Which I never thought I'd see that, but that's probably like the best part of the book.
That-
Alfred, this book is good, but Alfred makes this book.
You know, Alfred's
He's
really
not-
what makes the coolest part of this book.
You never think you'd say that about a Batman book. I always liked Alfred, but this really, he could almost have his own series reading this book, like in this alternate universe.
No, he really
He's
is
that
badass.
badass.
Well, it's like it took
He's
me a-
also, there's actually a pretty intense scene where Alfred's like, you need to carry a gun. Bruce is like, no guns. I don't use guns. Oh yeah, you don't use guns? He starts slapping around, starts kicking the shit out of Bruce.
Yeah.
Just full on slapping him and beating him with a cane. Like, you don't use guns, huh? What are you gonna do now? At some point, then you always just see him with a cane. Bruce then kicks out his leg. You then see a fake leg fly out. It's just, Alfred, he's about to say he's sorry, then he just gets a pissed off look and walks out the room. Alfred's like, damn, he is ready.
Yeah, no, that was a real good one too. I mean, I didn't even notice this at first, but if you look at the cover, it took me a couple times to look at it. Alfred
Is holding a smoking shotgun.
yeah, and they're standing out in the rain, like at a gravesite,
Mm-hmm.
and that, it's just like you didn't notice he had a
And
shotgun in his
Batman's
hand.
in the very far background. Like,
Yeah, there's like a Batman giant head.
yeah.
But that book, I actually like that one pretty well. I mean, yeah, you could say it's got maybe a little bit too much Christopher Nolan influence, but I don't know. That's probably not a bad thing.
No, there's worse things to be influenced by Christopher Nolan, because Christopher Nolan is my favorite of the Batman films. But it's just one of those things. There's some moments where I felt like it was trying too hard. Batman Begins. It was trying to grind itself too much in reality. But overall, I'm not going to down it too much because it was still overall an enjoyable book.
Which that leads us into Superman. Which
New 52.
this one actually took me quite. This is a thick book too. It took me
Yeah.
because I looked at it, I was like, well, it's only maybe like 1/3 thicker than Batman, and Batman took me like an hour to read, and this one seemed to take me like it almost took me like almost 2 hours to finish this thing. It was
It's a pretty
it was a hefty book.
Now, I'm going to be honest real with you. Superman's one of my favorite superheroes, but I don't have loads of his comics. The only Superman comics I have is Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb, Superman Earth 1, Death of Superman, Last Stand of New Krypton, and there's another one in there that I'm forgetting that's going to... Oh, Superman Birthright. And then aside from that, a bunch of Superman, Batman books. But that one, Superman, Batman, the series, not the individually. And so aside from that, I'd be lying if I said I read tons of Superman. But I feel like I still get a very good sense of what the character's all about. This is something very different than I've ever seen by... Superman All-Star. All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison. Which Grant Morrison wrote this one, too. And it's very different. I've never seen this take a Superman before. Yet it felt very true to the character.
No, it felt like it was totally Superman, and it almost felt this is actually how Superman would really be. And
In this day and age.
yeah, just day and age, and just I love the way he's dressed at first, because on the cover he's dressed and he's just got like a Superman shirt on. He's got his cape, and then he's wearing a pair of like work jeans and work boots, which would make sense. Like if that was like how you start out like your costume.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd put on some work boots, something that's durable and hefty, some
Yeah.
work pants, something that's strong and durable.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shirt gives him his symbolism, and then obviously he has his cape, which is indestructible.
Yeah. Another thing about this book is it does something with Clark Kent. It doesn't only change Superman, it changes Clark Kent. Because for a long time, Clark Kent was always kind of like, well, golly, Lois, if you think so. Where in this, even though he's a nerd, he's still like, what he's doing, he's trying to reveal the corruption of Metropolis. Because Metropolis, the way I've always viewed Metropolis is, it's, they never had a lot of corruption. It was always just, every once in a while I'll get a science fiction attack
Yeah,
from
more just like
Brainiac or
something
something.
really bad would happen, just like humongous.
Never any like major like put like like espionage of like to a corporate level or anything like that. It was always, just these radical sci-fi things. This one, he's apparently trying to reveal the corruption in the city as Clark Kent and actually taking action by night as Superman.
So he's almost like Batman, really, in this thing,
Yeah,
slightly.
and he's a little bit more darker. He still doesn't kill, but he actually will.
It doesn't mean he doesn't threaten.
He does threaten. He does threaten. And they actually managed to jam a lot of characters in this. They got Metallo,
Brainiac.
Brainiac, Lex Luthor, a squid thing. I'm not sure, like a squid-looking alien thing.
I don't
with
really know
jelly.
what that was.
I don't know if that's something that was made up or if that's just some random part of Superman history. I don't know. I seen him fight like some kind of tentacled starfish thing all the time. Anyways, it might be that thing. I don't know. And there's somebody they call the Little Man. Now I might be wrong. There's that character in Superman. This is the new 50. I want to actually say this real quick before I get too much into the Little Man. It seems like Batman New 52, The Court of Owls, that one just seems to be picking up where Batman left off and just doing like just a different take on it, and certain things are a little different. Like Barbara Gordon's not in the wheelchair now. This one seems to be entirely rebooting the franchise. So I'm wondering how long it's going to take to get caught up or what they're going to do with the current series.
Well, but the one thing I think is really cool, I just want to say this about, there's a couple things I want to say too. One, I'm going to go back to Clark Kent. One thing I thought was really cool is I like the way that Clark Kent dressed. Is he'd always just throw like a baggy sweatshirt over, which would make sense because, like before he's always kind of wearing those suits, but the suits always made him look kind of big still. Didn't really hide it. But wearing that sweatshirt, that makes it, that hides his muscles, that keeps him so you can't recognize. Because that was one thing I always thought is like, Superman, I never felt like a lot of times he looked enough different from each other. But this one, he throws his hair forward. He almost looks like Harry Potter slightly.
Yeah.
So his hair's all kind of messed up, and it's kind of hanging over his face.
You can understand how they would
He's got his
confuse
glasses.
him.
Yeah, he's got a big, thick sweatshirt on. His clothes are baggy, and it keeps him so he really does not look like Superman. And the other thing I thought was really cool is I like the way that the design of this one is like on the titles and all that stuff. They make it out that like it's like the old 30s, 40s comics where it's like Superman Action Comics.
Yeah.
And then even when
yeah.
you flip through it, like when the beginning of each story, they got just the kind of the cool way it's shown is they do the cool little black and white ink, but they show the titles and wherever the hell they are. Here they are.
It says it
and
in
it's
the
like
old-fashioned
Superman versus the City of
with a
Tomorrow.
picture of him busting out of the chains.
So I just thought that was kind of cool. It's one of those ones like they really give like a broad audience. Like,
It's a good balance of retro and new.
Yeah,
it's not tilting too much to one.
because you got a lot of classic things, but then it's pretty modern, and then it almost feels like it starts out as a story that's like the classic style of Superman. Like he's saving just small things like stopping trains, saving buildings, doing things like that, and then it starts to progress actually up to just like a full on, Brainiac's a real like Superman like supervillain story, which I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, the story was actually they actually didn't make him open it up at the Daily Planet. They make him actually.
He's working for the Star.
Yeah, he's working for the Star. That's what he's working at. And he says, like, you're so good. You should go to Daily Planet. He says, I can't go to Daily Planet because Daily Planet's owned by this guy. And this guy, I don't remember the name of the guy, but he's just like, he's a corrupt, figurehead of some sort. And he's the one he's trying to expose the whole time. So.
And then they got Lois Lane's work at the Daily Planet with Jimmy Olsen.
And they keep on working with Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. And throughout there, they have this weird kind of like, I don't trust this guy. Jimmy's like, oh, he's a good guy. Come on,
I wonder if this series will Jimmy Olsen still have the same fucking job like way later,
70 years from now.
Because that was one thing about Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, like, well, especially in this one, like he really looks like he's maybe like a year younger than Clark and Lois.
Yeah.
But like, he's like Clark and Lois will probably get these fantastic jobs. And Jimmy will still be like running like files from like. Upstairs to downstairs.
That's true, yeah.
And luckily, maybe they'll get a camera and go like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna take a photo."
Highlight of Jimmy's life, yeah. No, this book was pretty good. I actually thought the way they presented Metallo was pretty interesting, and they almost kind of. Oh, actually, I want to go back to the Little Man real quick before I forget.
Oh yeah, Little Man.
I think that might be. I'm gonna have so much trouble saying this guy's name, but there's that character. And I never really read any books with this character in it. Actually, no, it wasn't an issue of Superman Batman, which was a horrible issue. But he was in the Vengeance story in that. He was what's his real? It's Mickelnimpinzi or it's some really weird, hard to pronounce name. And he could just kind of make anything happen. He's just weird that way. Some little mythical creature thing. I think that may be who the little man is in this story,
Huh.
because people say, "Were you just talking about little man? What little man? Wait, you don't see him. You don't see him. He's right here. You don't see him." There's a part where the evil billionaire figure is going insane because no one else sees this little man he was talking to. And later on in the story, we see that little man apparently like trying to sell off a weapon, trying to sell off like a kryptonite engine to some of Superman's other villains. So it's one
Hmm.
of those things. I'm not sure. He might be that character. He might not be. I'm not completely
Huh.
sure. It would be a different take on him if they
Yeah, I
did.
remember that. I don't know very much about that kid. That's one thing. Is like
And the only way you can get
my
him back
Superman knowledge is not nearly what it is to like my Batman
to same
knowledge.
here.
It's like I've read probably about 10 Superman books in my entire life. I've seen all the movies, and I've watched a handful of the shows, and that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
But
But this one, this is definitely a really good one, and it really changed. It's lack of a better term, it's a breath of fresh air, I guess.
well, it feels like a brand new thing, and it feels like it's a real good book that you could really hand off to somebody and go like, hey, you always want to read Superman? Here, this is a good place to start.
Because because the thing I think people had trouble relating with Superman is that, okay, here's this dweeby Clark Kent guy we got to deal with until he throws on the suit, so he's the perfect badass with the just guy who resembles perfection. And then this, he doesn't really ever have that. He seems kind of flawed from the get go. He it shows that he's a little bit more of a smartass. He's a little bit more quick witted, but he's at the same time he kind of stumbles into things. He falls into traps a little bit more. Well, Superman does fall into traps a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but this it's more of a logical way. They have a part where he's actually strapped to an electric chair, and
Yeah.
it's actually a pretty cool scene.
Because he gets hit by a train, or he goes to stop the train, and the train like just runs him straight into the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and Lex Luthor brings him into like the military base, and that's where they hook him up.
Which I like their
Electric chair.
interpretation of Lex Luthor in this.
Yeah, no, well, I like is like he goes back to being more like a scientist instead of being this like kind of like pretty much a Republican. Instead of being
was.
like Dick Cheney, they make him more back to like a scientist kind of how he was. And I kind of like that more, you know. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
mind if he's like has some money, but I kind of like where he focuses everything on
Science.
science and
Well, that's the way
technology.
he kind of wrote him in whatchamacallit, in All Star Superman.
Oh yeah, that one that one's a little bit different too. Yeah.
But he's still a little different, but that's kind of similar to the way he wrote him. He kind of wrote him a little toned down in this, because in that one he's almost kind of like Gene Hackman's suit, like Lex Luthor, like
Yeah.
Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind in the world. He's almost like that, but a little more toned down, and he's really buff. He can like kick your ass if he wanted to. Not Superman's ass, but almost anybody else's. But this one right here, though, this is an awesome book. And Metallo was pretty interesting. They actually got in Metallo. I kind of wish I hope they change the design later in the line, because what happens is he's a before it was John Corbin, or John Corbin, I think that was his
They
name.
call him John Wayne Corbin in this one. I don't remember that Wayne being in there before, but maybe it is.
Yeah. Well, they originally he was just like a low-level thug that stumbled in somewhere and just became a giant robot that killed things with a kryptonite heart. This one, they make him part of a military program
So
where
he doesn't seem like some Ninja Turtles villain.
yeah, so he's a part of a military program that goes strangely awry, and from there, because it's actually because Lex Luthor's working with Brainiac. He doesn't really know what Brainiac is. He knows he's a higher entity that can help him in the long run, but of course Brainiac's going to screw him over. So for that, Lex Luthor's pushing towards this Metallo project. They never call him Metallo. They call it Metal Zero. So it's
Yeah,
more implied than
They,
anything.
they call him something different. Like, at first, that threw me off. I was like, oh wait, that is him.
Yeah. And
Because
then,
sometimes you read these ones, you're like, is that supposed to be something else?
yeah, he's actually created by. I thought this was cool. They threw this character. He's created by Steel.
Uh huh.
I thought it was cool. They threw Steel in this book.
Which that character is really cool. I actually
I
like that
always
one a lot.
liked Steel.
And I've never seen too much of him, but I always think that's a really cool character.
Mhm. Yeah, and he's in this book a little bit. He's not jam packed in it, but he's in the book notable amount. And it's pretty cool.
He even gets his own chapter at the very end.
He gets like two little like backstories.
Which I think all those. This is what I was guessing because we're reading the hardcover graphic novel. I'm guessing because there's a little bit of those. I wonder if each one of those was plugged into the back of an issue.
it's a possibility.
That's how I was guessing those probably were, and then they just kind of slapped them all at the end because I think that's why they come off kind of strange. Is because you read the story, 1 through 8, I think is what it is, all the way through, and then there's all these little like tidbit like stories at the end. But since they're all thrown together, they kind of throw you off at first. But I think if you read each issue and then read that, and then read each issue and then read the little like side story at the end,
Yeah.
Because most of what it is, it's just like a story that kind of follows either somewhere else. When Superman's up in space, this is what happens on Earth, you know, and then some of them are like flashbacks, and then some of them are actually even later on.
Hmm.
So, but they come across really confusing because you're going back and forth and down and
Yeah.
up and all kinds of places.
That's near the back of the book though. Legion though, there's a one of the last issues. This is kind of the issue I could have done without. Not that it was horrible. It was just it ended on a really good note. This book ended on a good. Well, then the main story ended on a good note with Clark Kent becoming Superman, and what happens at some point is he goes actually to. We'll lead into the ending in a second. He goes to Brainiac's lair, and one of the classic stories from Superman is the city of Kandor, how it's in a glass jar, more or less. And one of the sections of Metropolis gets in a glass jar. Within there, you got the billionaire I say Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent's after. You got Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane. I don't know if I already said Lex Luthor.
It was everybody
And
who was in Metropolis.
Generally, everybody who's pretty much all the main characters of the story, with the exception of Steel. And
What black man can't cut space?
he saves the day, though.
Yeah, he saves day down
He's,
below.
he's probably one of the best parts of this book. He's not in it like loads, but he's probably one of the best parts of the book, aside from Superman. Now, there's a part where he manages to come across. I don't think it's. I don't know if he comes across Kandor. Somehow he comes across is one of his old Kryptonian suits while he's up there. That's where he learns more about his origin. And he puts on the suit, and that resembles, it takes form and becomes the old House of L suit. So it looks like the Superman outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. So why how he switches from jeans and a t-shirt to this futuristic looking Superman outfit,
It's
which
like,
is
like armor.
yeah.
Which is kind of cool. They give it more design, so it looks kind of a little bit more like armor.
Well, some people are pissed off they changed the designs of the superhero outfits for the New 52, which, you know what, it's like, these characters have been here
to
for
me, it's
70
like,
years.
it's not even that much. It's not even really different. All it is you put a couple more drawing lines on his suit, so it's
Make
not
it
just
shinier.
yeah.
And they got rid of the super speedo.
Well, yeah, they have the speedo, and it's like whatever. I mean, God,
You never
God
needed the
forbid you
Speedo.
take away the man's speedo and people flip a bitch.
There are people fucking freaking out. I mean, granted, there are people.
No speedo, no watching.
Yeah. No, there are people freaking out over Man of Steel because, I mean, granted, anybody looks for a reason to attack Zack Snyder, but they were complaining, saying, "Oh, they're changing the outfit. It looks like they're saying they're making it look this way because they're embarrassed of the old one." It's like, I love the old one, but why stay stuck to the exact same thing we've had for 70 years?
Well, I
Mix it
remember I
up a
kept
bit.
hearing that. They're like, they changed the outfit. They changed the outfit. And I was like, oh, what like, the way that people made it come out, that like they really changed it. Then when I saw it, I was like, I knew that was a Superman outfit like in 2 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have to think really. My brain already knew. Like, it doesn't look that much different.
I mean, he's just trying something different.
I mean,
but,
that's what I was like. Those are small things. It's almost like the Batman outfit, like in the movies, compared to like the TV show. It's like it's really like the same thing. It's just all black instead of having like kind of like mixed gray and black or gray and blue and black or whatever you want to.
which it's fine. But back to the actual comics though, because the outfit he has in this book, the main one, that's the one that they're going to be using the Man of Steel apparently. But he ends up using that, and it ends on this note of him joining the Daily Planet, and just ultimately ends Superman the way you know Superman, and that makes sense. But then it goes a little further, and he goes back to Brainiac's lair, where I guess we learn a little bit more about his past and all that, and he's with the help of the Legion. The Legion is just there all of a sudden.
Yeah, they're just there like, oh, you got a brain tumor now. There's a bunch of people living in your head.
Yeah. They shot a bullet.
I don't know. If somebody came back in time and told you that you had people living in your head.
Yeah, that part threw me off. Yeah, they shot a bullet that's into his head that he didn't even realize, and it was something like they have to go inside of him to kick it out or something like that. In the meantime, they're fighting
Krypton in there.
the meantime, they're fighting this blob. He's having flashbacks to his family during this, which is, I guess, that part's kind of important. And then he's fighting this blob thing that can turn into a T-Rex or turn into like an octopus monster type deal. And overall, I mean, it's still a good story, but this last bit just seemed kind of like unneeded, given the note it ended with the other one.
Well, that's why I think those stories came after, like, if you read it in, like, the single issues. That's what I'm guessing. Because just for the way that they're all kind of just, like, slapped together and they feel, like, very, like, they jump back and forth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
thought this picture was funny right here. Just Superman's face is so huge.
There's a picture of
It's like
Superman
almost like a fisheye lens is used.
where he's flying. Yeah.
And the one thing about this one, Superman actually looks really Jewish in this one. Like,
in
look
this
at that.
particular picture.
Well, just in general. I mean, even like just look at him. I mean, like I don't mean that like in a bad way. I think that's like a good thing, you know, because that's I think
He was
that's
created by two
yeah.
Jewish guys
I'm
anyway.
pretty sure that's how he was originally intended to look. But he actually does. I mean, he looks kind of like if Jerry Seinfeld like had a lot of muscles. And I don't. And I once again, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that like that's how I actually really kind of imagine Superman.
Mhm.
But then he goes also to some other cool flashbacks, like one just a story
Involving
of
Pete Ross and Lana Lang.
yeah. There's that one. That's like the last story I think. And then there's the one where it just shows his origin of him like getting off his planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one. It's like oh, and Martha and Clark or Martha Kent. I'm trying to blank right now.
Martha and John.
John. They get married and then they try like really
That one's
hard to get a child. It's almost like the point where it's like you're almost like it's time for you to stop. You guys, it's been like 10 fucking years.
Should I stop diving down the stairs every morning? Could that be stopping?
Oh, what do you mean? Well, that's what we do every morning. We just like John gets behind me and kicks me down the stairs, and we both laugh. Well, no wonder you're having a fucking child.
He laughs. He has a bottle of Jim Beam in his hand,
and then he chucks it at me.
Tells me to make him some fucking dinner.
And then smiles, and then goes out to play with the bull's butthole.
No, left that part out. That was probably an earlier draft of the script. But anyway.
But no, it's got a lot of cool like origins. That's what
That
I mean,
stuff's
though.
cool. That stuff is cool.
It's one of these books though, you still could hand this to somebody, and somebody could kind of get a good grasp of Superman like
all the
in
weird
one read.
All the weird stuff we're talking about, it comes to near the end, and it's at the point where it's like, I can handle it by now. I've been reading this whole fucking book, so.
Well, the only part is it's just the Legion part. I think it's the only part.
The Legion fucking ruins things.
It's just that part. It's just like it was a lot of like maybe if I've read a lot more Superman, but it's like I know like of Legion and I've seen them before, but it's not like I really know a whole lot about them. And then all these other characters that are involved in them, it was just like here's 15 brand new characters at once.
Yeah, well, my thing is, granted, I'll be honest, I never read a Legion comic book, but I just never really cared for the DC universe in the 31st century, where nothing I recognize is there, and I don't really care about characters that populate it. So.
But all the stories right after that are all fantastic, actually. You get the Steel one, which is just his little side chapter.
You get the Jonathan and Martha.
You get the Jonathan and Martha one. Then you get
I think that's it. I think it was like 2 Jonathan and Martha. No, then it's like
no.
It's the last one with Clark leaving the barn, handing it off to somebody else whose family was just foreclosure.
I think that's who it was.
Was it the pastor?
The guy who got
foreclosure or something.
The guy who got him married. I think that's who it's supposed to be.
What's the guy who got him?
I don't want to be that guy who's like it's the only black guy in town. It's got to be. But I think that's who it's supposed to be. I just think it's him older.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. Oh yeah, they got Crypto in it too. I forgot.
Crypto is actually the family dog, but it gets like thrown into the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, he goes this. He really actually saves.
He saves Clark, but you know he only went into the Phantom Zone, so it means at some point he's coming back.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't just get like raped by a bunch of prisoners in there.
They're gonna. First thing they want to rape is a fucking dog. Yeah.
So they've raped each other now. There's something new.
Old Man Orange podcast. Just a lot of rape jokes.
But no, they got a lot of cool stuff. It's just that one Legion part, and it's kind of like 3/4 into the book or so, because that ending part still there's a lot of those little mini stories that it takes a long time. It's almost a book, and that almost could be 2 books really when it gets down to it.
Oh, it's a great one. Well,
I'm not complaining that they crammed all into one big fat book. You very rarely get comic books like this. They're this thick that aren't like ones that they release like way later in life.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
So Superman was really sweet. I really liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I like that one just a little bit more than Earth one.
Yeah,
Batman's more.
Probably the reason that one's probably. I probably would like that one more. I like it. Well, the take on it's really cool. I will say that.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say this, but just because it's thicker, that almost sometimes makes it better because you just get more stuff out of it. And the Batman one's like really like almost.
It's a very quick read.
It's almost half the size.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to actually reading both of those. Whatever happens next, they are very good.
Earth one ends on a cliffhanger. It ends implying Riddler is going to be the next villain.
Yeah, I remember that.
Earth 1.
So that would be cool. I like Riddler, and I wanted to see Alfred kill more.
Yeah, which means you might get another villain in there.
I think it's kind of, I kind of like the idea of like a character that's like Batman doesn't kill, but Alfred kills.
Yeah.
It's a good like.
Maybe by then Harvey Bullock's just a little bit more like hammered and all that.
And then Jim Gordon kind of comes back and being
Because by the end, he's all like, "No, we're straightening this town up. I don't care." Because they already crossed the line by kidnapping his daughter. So he's like, "Fuck it, I am going by my old ways now." So.
And Jim going to be like, "What, Harvey? You never seen a bunch of dead girls' bodies before?
Yeah.
Welcome to Gotham."
We call that Sunday school here.
We send that picture out in our pamphlets to people to come visit.
Surprise the amount of people it brings.
Yeah, they just keep coming. I wonder why we have so many hoodlums, though.
Well, anyway, it's kind of a short one this week, but I think we had check out these books.
Sure,
when you
it's
get a
the
chance.
same length as everything else, practically.
Usually a lot. Well, it's got a point. Sometimes it wins on 60 minutes. Sometimes.
I never got that far.
I thought we reached. Wasn't like the Total Recall one almost 50 or so?
Yeah, they're 50.
Yeah.
But well, now it gives me a chance to go back and play in Last Story again, which that kind of deteriorated me a little bit from finishing that Superman one, because I came home and was like, reading sounds like more work than I want to do.
Right now, for me,
I'd rather have a TV that I can watch and read. For some reason, reading off a TV seems easier. So I played a little bit of Last Story, which is pretty cool so far. I like it so far. If it was just a turn-based game, I don't know why everybody's so down on turn-based RPGs. And I've played a lot of RPGs, and I have still yet to find an RPG that can be literally as good as 7, 8, and 9 Final Fantasy. I don't know why. It's just like, you think that nowadays with like graphics and stuff, we can get a game like in that. It doesn't have to be better. It just has to be about on par, and we just have yet to get that far. And Last Story's cool. It's very cool so far. I'm only like a couple hours, probably 5 hours into it or something, but no turn-based. I don't know what it is. People just really don't like the idea of like to choose your actions. That to me, that's what an RPG is. Running around, I don't know. It almost feels like that like. It almost could be a full-on action game like Zelda, but it's almost like that in between a turn-based.
Well, when you beat it, maybe we can do a podcast on that one. Granted, I haven't played the game, so
it's just me talking.
I could just like nod my head, like explain this RPG to me.
I don't know. It's one of those games. It's like it took a year.
Is this the one where the guy with the yellow spiky hair has the sword and he has like the red lion helping him out? Is this that one?
No.
I don't play very many RPGs, but.
But yeah, so.
But we could possibly do one on that one later down the line.
We could.
Or I could play it and try and beat it.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be long. I have no idea how long it is. I'm just gonna guess it's gonna be like 30 hours.
I know I got a lot more comics to read because so much is coming out. I got to stay on top of that.
Well, I guess it's a place to end it. So.
Anything else you want to say before we go?
Buy more Japanese video games. Don't let Japan down. They need your money right now.
Especially now more than ever.
I feel like their games are just like. Not like they're going down in quality. It's just like they could be bolstered a little bit better.
Everything is kind of first-person shooters this day and age.
Yeah, everything's all American and first-person shooters. There's nothing wrong with first-person shooters. Don't get me wrong, but don't make that the only video game you play. Okay, and that's where I'm going to end it at. Buy Japanese games.
All right, so I'm Ryan Dunigan.
I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
We'll see you later.
Batman and Superman kicks ass.
They certainly do.